Welcome. It's your opportunity to join entertainment entrepreneur Nigel Cecil.
Hello, Chuckabutties. Nigel Cecil here as an entertainment entrepreneur, responding to questions and comments sent in to me by my friends in equity in the hope that my response may be helpful. Now, regular viewers to the channel will know that this video is scheduled to be about democracy and transparency within equity. But given the bulk of emails we've had, Hilary, over the last few days, I'm going to include privilege as well because it helps explain my explanation. And that question, Hilary, yes, touches at the very core of things. Nigel, could you please explain how you think equity can justify recommending to its members that they join a pro-Palestine demonstration? Democracy, transparency, and privilege. Now, if we consider democracy, the answer is very simple. That's because a few years ago, less than 6% of the membership voted in favour of a rule change that now enables equity's rules to be interpreted in such a way that equity can justify joining a pro-Palestine demonstration. You as a member may ask yourself, how's that happened? Well, that's up to you. And when it comes to transparency, well, members quite rightly should say, may say, listen, if the Equity Council have taken that decision, how can we check how that decision was arrived at? Well, you would say, let's look at the council minutes, because presumably a topic as important as recommending to members joining a pro-Palestinian demonstration would have been given due notice on a council agenda so the council could fully debate the issue. So you would say, well, let's have a look at the council minutes. But the council meeting was a week last Tuesday. And those minutes won't be available until what? After the next council meeting, 4 or 5 weeks' time. So how may you check? Well, that's another question you need to ask equity about transparency, because indeed some members have been in touch with Nigel and said that even when you see the minutes, they don't actually give an indication of who, what, why, when and where members were actually present on the council to vote and how the discussion took place. So that's transparency. Now, privilege. Personally, I believe it's a privilege to be elected as a councillor for equity, to represent, some 48,000 members. It's a privilege. But the privilege doesn't give you privileged rights. I hope I've said that right, Hilary. Get my tongue round it. Privileged rights. Because the trade union equity is all its members. The members fund the trade union. So quite clearly, everybody must have equal privilege. And so if by being on the council, councillors think they've got some additional rights, some personal rights, then really that's open to question. That's open to question. And there's a sort of mood around that rather than focus on professional interests, which all the members may unite around that particular topic, focusing on the professional interests of equity members in the workplace, there is now a group of people in equity who seem to think, and they seem to be in a majority on the council, I think, that believe that they can use their personal political beliefs to interpret what they do on behalf of the whole membership. Now, what I'd have to say, is that correct? Is that correct, you see? And this is what happens. The rules do say that equity may assist fellow creative actors internationally who are suffering from oppression or hardship. Now, it's one thing to say, let's think of an example. Yes, it's one thing to say, listen, I'm an actor, and I'm on a plane, and I'm going from Greece to Lithuania, and I have written a play that's a little bit critical of the government and president of my home country. And as we're flying over, they hijack the plane, the government, and arrest me and chuck me into prison because I've been critical of the government. Now, it's one thing for equity to say, oi, we have to assist that worker who, in his creative environment, wrote a play and he's been thrown into jail. So we're going to give a donation to the political charitable fund that's been set up to help them defend themselves. Because the expression of freedom and free speech, is most important. But it may be a step too far to say, well, we're going to help that actor by joining a demonstration to overthrow the government and the president of that country. It really becomes so far removed from the original concept of assisting a fellow actor that it all becomes, an asinine fanfaronade. And maybe some members will think that equity has actually done that. You see, equity's got this thing called safe spaces. Safe spaces. And it does seem that as a trade union, there's a cancel culture. Unless you think in the same way as particular members on the Equity Council or even those advising the council, then your view doesn't get heard. Indeed, it's been brought to my attention that Dominic Cavendish, a theatre critic in The Telegraph, yesterday wrote, "Equity's modish ideological zeal spells bad news for the arts." It's worth a read. So where does it leave us? Well, it leaves us in a situation where some members, quite frankly, feel as though they've been harassed and oppressed publicly by their own union. Now, I heard it said that one member of staff, and this is hearsay, has suggested to a member, well, you shouldn't resign if you don't like what's going on. You should stay and fight. Stay and fight? Come on, safe spaces. You don't join a union to stay and fight other members. You join a union to be united in one cause. And the fundamental cause is looking after the professional interests of members, equity members in the workplace. In the workplace. And if we've got to a situation, if equity's got to a situation where long-serving members of equity feel that they're being oppressed and harassed by equity, then it clearly is a very unfortunate situation. And it's because, you see, some people have assumed the privilege that they now have the right to impose their personal political beliefs on the rest of the membership. And me in equity, I always like to come up with a summation. And there's one phrase that really says everything. And it's a Filipino phrase. So look it up and we'll discuss it in the next video when I'm talking about committee elections. And the phrase, no Wang in equity. No Wang in equity. So until we discuss that, given the nature of the issue, love and peace to everyone. Shalom.
Thank you for watching Nigel Cecil. Please keep in touch.